Hey everyone, it's editing me here. I pulled a big derp, a very, very big YouTuber derp. I recorded this entire episode, and I didn't realize my mic was muted the whole time. To quickly imitate what Past Me said, I added an ammo box and a generator to my base, and I turned the generator off because I'm running on solar power, and I have a lever to turn it back on if I need to. I added some grow plots to my base. As you can see me walk past them right here. They are growing some things. I don't have enough resources to make the fourth one to grow all the crops yet, but it's definitely a priority for me as I check my fridge and eat some bread. I added a turret to the base, as I'm about to demonstrate. It's a minigun turret, but there's not much of a use for it because I don't get attacked, but I point out the solar farm I set up over there. So that's nice, that's all cute and stuff. And somewhat relevantly, I touched up my hover vessel. I added a bunch of stuff to it. As you can see, I upgraded from the hover engine. I upgraded 2 hover engines from ground repulsor engines. I added weapons, a harvester module, and I painted it and improved the whole design. So what I decided to do is I take my hover vessel over to the spider nest, which I spotted in episode 1, but haven't really interacted with at all, and I test my harvester module, just for the camera. Just doing some tree harvesting. I'm at the phase where I don't really need wood though, so it's questionably useful. And then I go ahead and grab my minigun that I unlocked ammo for in between episodes, and I take it out for a spin, shooting some spiders. So then I deconstruct the whole thing, gathering all of the alien material that was here. It actually wasn't really that much of a point of interest. It was just a natural spider spawn that happened to be around this lump of material. I'm not sure why, but I did get some resources that I wouldn't otherwise have any of without having come here. So it was definitely worth at least a check. And then, of course, I decide to test my minigun on a beefier target, the pangolin. The pangolin ate quite a few shots before going down, but it still it stood no chance against my minigun. After returning to my base, I gave a rundown of the faction affiliations and reputations that I cannot replicate, and I've flipped through the menus pretty randomly and quickly, and I just want to summarize it all. There's reputations with each faction. They increment and decrement in like units of 6,000, so every 6,000 reputation in one direction gets you moving a rank in that direction, and everybody has their things that they like and things that they don't like, and it's slightly different for each faction. And in between episodes, I ground up reputation with the Xerax to not be unfriendly with them, but I have yet to decide which faction I want to go with. Later in the episode, I try and push my Polaris reputation up, but it ended up being a very boring segment, and I cut it out. A bit before that happens, though, I ended up running into a radiation biome, and triggering a radiated fog weather event that didn't go away when I left the biome. So I had to sit through a bit of a radiated fog back at my base, because my armor doesn't quite keep me safe from the 5.5 radiation. It only has a 5 protection rating, so I'm 0.5 over. It's not that bad, and honestly I figure I could run around outside without the extra protection, but I was afraid to do it because I didn't want to risk having radiation poisoning, because I didn't have any anti-radiation stuff because I didn't have the mushrooms I needed for it. Now, one thing I did learn later is that promethium ores spawn more often inside of those radioactive biomes. So it doesn't help me now, but I suppose if anyone else decides to follow in my footsteps, if you have the armor, even the light armor has 5 radiation protection, and it shields you from the radiation of those biomes, so you can go into the radioactive biomes, and there's likely to be promethium in there. After a very long time getting nothing done on the reputation front, I decided to switch tactics and build a spaceship. It had been a bit too long since I did any building on camera, so I decided to record the whole thing. And I wanted to mention something about Empyrion's building mechanics that it's a bit odd. And it's not that it's bad odd, it's that it's just unusual odd. It's that you need thrusters facing in every direction in order to have your ship behave properly. Because in order to slow down, the thrusters have to fire automatically to use as brakes. So you have to have a thruster facing in every direction in order to slow your ship down. And when I finished my beautiful, luxurious creation that shows just how great and amazing of a builder I really am, I took it out into space. Now, going to space was as simple as flying straight up, but once I got to space, I got this weird thing because I hadn't placed thrusters in every direction, and I started kind of sliding around in space because at the time I only had thrusters facing down and forward. I didn't have any directional thrusters at all. And as you can see here, I'm kind of just sliding around even though I'm not hitting a button. And you hear my thrusters stop firing, and I stop even though I was still moving. So what happens is I'm kind of drifting out here, and it's not bad, it's not like I'm stuck, but it is extremely annoying. And it honestly strikes me as kind of unnecessary, because in this world where you can literally just assemble a spaceship with your bare hands, it kind of makes no sense that a ship would need these special thruster systems. But that's asking for realism in a video game, so it's not really a good nitpick. So after checking out the galaxy map for a minute, I decided to just head back down to the planet, and I retrofit my ship with some thrusters in each direction so I can control it, and with some landing gear that doesn't actually work properly the way I think it does, and that kind of caused a little bit of confusion for me in the video, but I eventually got it sorted out and it all worked out fine. I make a surprisingly lengthy flight to the planet's moon because I don't have enough thrusters to go at a decent speed, but I didn't think of that before I left the planet. By the time I realized I needed more thrusters, I was already more than halfway out. But regardless, I eventually arrived on the moon. My target here was cobalt. It's a resource I need to make the short-range warp drive, which is my next step forward. And I didn't have any of it on my home planet, so I needed to go to the moon. I also found out that there was pentaxid deposits on the moon, and I gleefully mined it with my brand new resource drill. Okay, it's not new. I made it in between episodes, but it's kind of new. The resource drill drills a lot faster than the survival tool that makes mining really quick and really easy, so it's a very good investment. Eventually, I found the cobalt deposit that I needed, and I mined a fair amount, and I hopefully won't need more for a while. I don't know how much cobalt you'll use, because I've never gotten to this point of the game before, but I mined a very good amount of it. And as I began the long flight back home, it was only then that I realized, through the entire episode, through all of my insightful commentary and funny jokes, my mic had been muted the entire time. I'd been using it for an internet chat room, and the mute button in there is very inconvenient. So what I was doing is I was using the mute button on the headphones itself to mute the microphone of the headphones when I didn't want to talk. It works very well, it's very convenient, unless you decide to forget to turn it back on when you're done with it being muted, which is exactly what I did, and I basically just ended up rage quitting. So, one last apology. I'll try and be better about my mic in the future. I lost a lot of good footage today. But I hope you enjoy this more distilled highlight reel of a typical episode anyway. It's a lot shorter than usual, I can definitely say that, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta make do with what you gotta do. I don't know how much more Empyrion I'm going to play. That's the main issue here. I've reached a point where most of what I can do is pretty grindy, and I don't want to do that on camera because it doesn't make for good episode material. So I'm going to stop doing an Empyrion marathon, haha rhymes, and do a bit more of other things in the weeks to come. Regardless, donate me for making mistakes, please.